Yeah, the very best of luck. It's a condition that affects 1 in every 100 people in the UK, and alarmingly, over 75% of those living with celiac disease remain undiagnosed.
And ahead of a Coeliac Awareness Week next week, we're joined now by actress Caroline Quentin, who's battled the condition for 30 years. But before we speak to her, here's the story.
I'm Caroline Quentin and I'm coeliac, which means that my body rejects gluten. In order to get a diagnosis for the disease, I've had to take the gluten challenge and reintroduce gluten back into my diet. This is my video diary. This is the first gluten I have deliberately eaten in 3 years. I think I'm going to feel quite poorly. Wish me luck. So it's about 20 minutes since I had that last piece of toast, and I'm actually starting to feel quite unwell now. My guts are making a terrible noise. I don't know if the mic can pick it up. Probably not, but it's not very nice. And my mouth's going quite dry, and I'm feeling slightly faint and quite nauseous. I'm actually going to have to go to the lavatory, really, excuse me. I'm so sorry, excuse me. So I have been sick. And I think I'm probably going to be sick again shortly. I'm feeling fairly rubbish. I've got a very bad tummy ache. And I feel really upset because I've been feeling so well for so many years. And I feel like I've sort of taken a step backwards. That first day was really tough for me. And as the week progressed, the gluten really began to take its toll on my body. I've been back on gluten for 9 days now. And last night I was awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, feeling really unwell with bad stomach cramps. And I was back and forth to the bathroom for about an hour. For years, I was unaware of the damage I was doing to myself. I was eating and drinking gluten both at home and while I was at work, filming. In this scene, it was actually some very good acting that caused me to choke on my food, but what I didn't realise back then was that this food was actually poisoning me.
I do now.
In my professional life, the lack of understanding about celiac disease can sometimes be a bit of an issue when it comes to catering, but thankfully today that isn't the case. Morning, I'm at a shoot today. I'm not feeling brilliant at the moment, so putting a smile on my face is slightly harder than it normally is. But brilliantly, here they've actually catered for people who don't eat wheat. Come and have a look at what's on the table. It's quite unusual. So here's the breakfast table. This is what would meet you at a normal photo shoot. Here we've actually got things I can eat. Bananas, some apples, lovely yogurts, beautiful, and grapes. They've catered for the coeliac. Brilliant. Before my biopsy, I was lucky enough to have some downtime with my family. We went to a theme park yesterday because it was a bit rainy, and that proved more difficult being on the gluten challenge because I couldn't get too far away from the ladies and gentlemen's conveniences. And when you're on a scary ride, well, it brings a whole new dimension to the log flume, let me put it that way. Joking aside, D-Day had arrived, or should I say B-Day. It was time for my biopsy, and I was lucky enough to have fellow coeliac, Dr. Chris, there with me for reassurance. Here I am, about to go in and have my endoscopy, and it's unusual, I know, but I'm going to invite you to come in with me and see that it's not at all frightening. It's going to be fabulous. Come on. Endoscopy is where a small tube is inserted into the mouth and down to the stomach.
Endoscopy has hugely changed since its beginning of time. It's now, as you'll see, a very relatively slim, flexible endoscope. And even with sedation, the whole procedure can be undertaken fairly rapidly. And now we're going out of the stomach into the beginning of the small bowel, which of course is the bit affected by celiac disease. So let's start to take lots of biopsies. Thank you, Abby. Open, close. Okay, thank you. If we were to show you some magnified views, you'd see these lovely feather-like, finger-like projections, which are called villi, that are there to increase the surface area. They get destroyed. You get a very flat bowel. So you can see these snippets of tissue coming off, and those are the biopsy sites.
It was over in a matter of minutes, and even in a heavily sedated state, I can tell it went well. Little thumbs up right there to the team, and I'm off to recovery.
How do you feel?
I feel absolutely fine. I'm really relaxed. As far as I'm concerned, I laid down, had a big chat, excuse the hiccups, everybody, lay down, had a bit of a chat, and then it was all over, and it's 5 minutes out of my life, which hopefully is going to sort me out. So, cheers.
Well done.
Thanks for being here, Chris. It's kind of you, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks. It's gin, really.
Oh, Caroline, it's just amazing.
Here now alongside Dr. Chris. Why have you decided you wanted to do this?
I'm now patron of Coeliac UK, and Chris has been associated with us, I know, for a long, long time, and I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. I should have addressed this years ago. I mean, I think I've been living with it for about 30 years, and it's a horrid thing, and I can't imagine why I didn't deal with it earlier, but I didn't, and I don't want other people to live with it because it's horrid. It's a horrid way to live, and I feel so well now that I'm gluten-free, and I've had my biopsy. I know I'm celiac, I'm gluten-free, and I feel great. I feel really great. I didn't know how well I could feel.
It's difficult, though, isn't it? Because gluten is found absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, it's in everything. It's in soy sauce, it's in malt vinegars, it's in breads, cakes, anything with wheat, anything with barley, anything with rye, anything with spelt. So it's actually in most of the things that you... For instance, if you're at a party, most things you get offered will have gluten in. So it's very hard...
Apart from vodka and wine, actually, you said.
Well, I did.
You were quite pleased about
that. When I first heard that I was suffering from celiac disease, I was asked, the first question I asked was, does that mean I can't drink vodka? Because it's made of barley. But you can, so don't worry.
Well, there you go.
No panic there.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's one tick.
It's one tick, yeah.
But you also say that it's important to raise awareness because if you don't understand it, you think, oh, they're just a fussy eater.
Well, I have to be honest, that's what I used to think about people who'd say they didn't eat certain things. I used to think, oh, get a personality, stop being so ridiculous, making a fuss about that. But now, of course, I have been, hoisted with my own petard because I now have to do that very thing and say, I have celiac disease, I can't, even the tiniest, a small grain size of a piece of rice of gluten will affect me for weeks. I mean, it really, your system flares up very, very quickly, quite badly.
You really can't overstate the effect this has on a person.
Celiac disease, it's a serious illness. It's the most common genetic disorder out there in the world, but it's most undiagnosed. Now, in the UK, there are 500,000 people walking around with celiac disease and they don't know they've got it. And, I mean, I had mine, 40 plus years and never knew. And basically, when you look back, you think, well, I had odd episodes of diarrhoea, and you couldn't pinpoint it to one specific food because there are so many foods out there containing the gluten. Now, the danger is the average patient from the onset of symptoms to diagnosis goes for 13 years suffering the condition. Then when you get the condition, OK, you go and see a doctor, and myself, like many other patients, was diagnosed as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Meanwhile, all those years of having this condition, I'm not absorbing calcium, I've got osteoporosis, I'm anemic, not absorbing iron and various others, nutrients. So you've got all this going on, and also there's a rare cancer of the bowel that results from celiac disease untreated. So basically, look, if you've got IBS, the thinking now is you should have a blood test to see whether it's celiac disease. There's no test for IBS. There's a test for celiac. Then, if you're going for a test for celiac with your GP, you don't change your diet. You eat normally, have your blood test. If you go and have the biopsy, right, and Caroline knows this, again, you go back onto gluten to make sure when they do the biopsy, they see the damage in the intestines.
Can I say, people think they might have celiac disease. There's a test they can take online to assess it. And actually, what you have to do is go to Is It Celiac Disease? That's fairly straightforward, isn't it? .org.uk, and that's how you spell celiac for those people like me who've struggled with spelling celiac for years.
You should see how they've spelt it for me to say
well, it's very. This is how you pronounce it, celiac, and you spell it COELIAC. And you can either go to Coeliac UK or you can go to isitceliacdisease.org. Take the test and see.
We'll put that. If you can't find that, you can't find it quickly, then all of those details will be on our website. Much easier to find because we tell you that every day, so it'll all be there.
Great.
Well, that's only available from Monday of next week, which is the Celiac Awareness Week.
Yeah. And as far as someone who thinks that they have got it is concerned, then that's straight down to your doctor to get your blood test.
Yeah, don't change your diet, eat normal food, go and see your doctor. Simple blood test, that comes back positive. He will probably book you for the biopsy. Now, the biopsy was nothing, was it?
No, and of course it sounds frightening. We all think of those things as frightening, and any little, even minor procedure makes us get a bit nervous. And And I promise you, it's fine. It's fine.
And when you are off the gluten, how do you feel right now?
Oh, honestly, it's ludicrous how well I feel. It's disgusting how healthy and well I feel. It's actually offensive.
Caroline, and is that what you do? You just come off gluten and that's it?
Once you've had your diagnosis, your biopsy, you take gluten out of your diet. You don't have to take anything to get better from celiac. You just withdraw gluten from your diet and you become so brilliantly well.
Well, lots of people saying... Rihanna Granger says, thank you. Too many people mistake celiac disease for a gluten-free fad diet, which means that few people take it seriously. At last, someone who gets it. And you're going to be in the kitchen a little bit later.
I am.
Cooking with Chris.
Yeah.
Chris. Chris can't cook.
Phil or Chris,
Cooking with Phil. You can give a no, I'm sorry.
Like some muffin.
Even I'm not ready for that. He's in the kitchen a little bit later. In the meantime, here's Jake Quickenden with the competition.
I'm sure he cooks too.
Follow me and you'll be in amazement at this week's fantastic prize package.
That's right, this week we're giving you another chance to get your hands on a massive £30,000 in